This is Valley News Live at 10.
We begin with breaking news tonight. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced on Russian state TV tonight his country will conduct a military operation in eastern Ukraine, claiming the actions come in response to threats from Ukraine, though we know from reports there that's not true.
Tonight, there are reports from Ukraine's capital that they can already hear blasts. Putin also warning other countries who may want to intervene, quote, Russia will respond immediately and you will have consequences that you've never had before in your history.
Just now, President Biden called the attack unprovoked and unjustified. But you may wonder what kind of impact a situation a whole world away could have on us here in the U.S. Valley News Team's Nishay Taylor spoke to economic experts today and has details.
Economic experts say right now it's a guessing game of how further tensions between Russia and Ukraine could hurt consumer pockets.
Right now, we are in the risk phase where everyone's trying to figure out what the full extent of hostilities will end up being.
U.S. consumers are already dealing with the rising prices, like paying more at the gas pump. David Flynn, the research director for the Institute of Policy and Business at the University of North Dakota, says the tensions could possibly make inflation worse.
Increase natural gas prices, increase oil prices, and then you look at other commodities that come out of that area. That could be corn, that could be other cereal grains. And so you'll start to see those kinds of prices increase or at least not decrease like you had anticipated.
Flynn says if there ends up being a war, there could be more pressure on the U.S. to make larger financial commitments.
That then starts to raise questions about how are we financing these commitments? What is this going to do as the Federal Reserve or others attempt to raise interest rates? Is that going to change the calculus, both political and economic, going forward?
Flynn also says there are other concerns as tensions continue to spiral.
Certainly, it seems likely that we will expect cyber attacks on financial institutions, maybe along gasoline supply lines like we saw in October.
But Flynn says U.S. consumers do not need to be worried right now.
Cautious, sure. I think it's a situation that does require consumers to pay attention because I think it is the kind of thing that will have unpredictable side effects.
In Fargo, Nishay Taylor, Valley News Live.
Wake up tomorrow, expect more brutally cold temperatures outside. Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson tells us exactly how low we'll go. Hutch.
Justin, thanks so much. We're on our way down into the 20s below already in some of our areas, and it looks like it's going to be a brutal night once again after we woke up with temperatures between 20 and over 30 below zero this morning. A look in on Grand Forks showing a crisp looking picture out there with clear skies and very light winds. We not only have cold temperatures, but even a little wind can drive these wind chills down to dangerous territory. Wind chill warning for the Devil's Lake Basin through northwest Minnesota. The blue counties here, everywhere else in a wind chill advisory as we take a look at your air temperatures. 20 below the air temperature in Hallock. But check this out here in Detroit Lakes, 18 below, Bemidji 18 below, sweeping down in towards Sisseton and Fergus Falls. We're into those 10 to 15 below area as well. Wind chills between 20 and 40 below already, and that means make sure you have a survival kit in your vehicle. Now, any clouds that would move over would slow the rate of cooling or even warm temperatures a bit. There could be a little bit in our southern counties, but that's just a small chance. So we're expecting very cold temperatures as we'll dive into the 20s below here in Fargo and Point South and East in particular to start out our Thursday morning. Your hour-by-hour forecast in Grand Forks shows similarly cold conditions. Dangerous wind chills, a little bit more cold to talk about, but some warmer weather as well, and we'll do that here in a moment.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
This winter, most local schools have already had to call off at least 3 days because of our intense weather. And while e-learning has saved several districts from having to make up any snow days, other districts like Fargo and Central Cass say that's not the case, with make-up days scheduled for later this spring. FBS says if more inclement weather comes our way, the district will consider doing distance learning on those days or extending the school day, or worst case scenario, extending the school year.
I don't know if anyone here would want to tell any student or family or myself that we are going to delay your ability to enjoy Lake Weekend. So that's just not what we want to do.
State of Minnesota allows schools 5 distance learning days per school year. North Dakota has no limit. New information on a fatal apartment fire in South Fargo. Police have identified the victim as 59-year-old Kay Holtman. Someone called 911 Sunday night around 6:30 saying they could see flames coming from a window in the 1800 block of 13.5 Street. Fire crews discovered the body as they put out the flames in a lower level unit. Officials have not yet said how that fire started.
New for you tonight at 10, a Fargo woman has been sentenced to 2 years in prison for stealing an elderly man's vehicle, then threatening to kill the officer on scene. Back in July, an 89-year-old man told officers he stopped because he saw Jamie Singer laying on the road. The man says she then kicked him in the chest and stole his car. Singer changed her plea to guilty today and was sentenced to 2 years in prison, followed by 2 years probation. A Bagley man won't be eligible for parole for another 30 years after a meth-fueled murder back in September 2020. A Clearwater County judge today sentenced 29-year-old Christopher Colgrove to life in prison, as well as paying nearly $10,000 in restitution to the victim's family. According to court documents, an officer saw Colgrove stab 53-year-old Dawn Swenson. And a man has been arrested after a break-in Monday evening at the Coachman Inn in Cooperstown. The Griggs County Sheriff's Office says a large amount of money was taken. John Scott Lee was arrested for burglary and theft of property. He's being held on $25,000 bond.
Downtown bar goers will soon have a change to their weekend routine post-bar close.
Fargo police introduced a collaboration with different ride services today. They say to make the late nights less stressful. Valley News Team's Alex Larson has more on what the changes will be.
Not sure exactly how that's going to work yet with city ordinance, and not sure what our partners are going to think about it, but just wanted to introduce it a little bit today here.
The Fargo Police Department announced today it's been working with Uber and Lyft to find where people are getting picked up at bar close.
Not in areas that I wasn't surprised where people were getting picked up. It was 200-300 block of Broadway, NP Avenue Broadway, 6th Avenue and Broadway, and 2nd Avenue and Broadway.
Police are trying to set up 4 areas where people will have to go to get their rides. There will be one on the north, south, east, and west parts of downtown, but it's still up in the air where exactly these will be.
Directing people to specific areas where they could go and pick up cabs, Lyfts, Ubers, get picked up by a friend, whatever it might be, directing them away from the bar areas and dispersing the crowds a little bit.
Drivers will no longer be able to pick up at the front door. People will have to walk or stumble to the designated pickup areas. For those ordering an Uber or Lyft, these pickup locations will be geo-fenced.
This is the only place you can pick up an Uber on these dates and times.
With large crowds comes lots of noise. Police say downtown residents had been complaining about the issue.
Looking at kind of an outside-the-box way to deal with this, we pulled in a lot of our bar owners with the help of DCP and had a really productive meeting looking for suggestions on what could be done without inhibiting their business, but also improving the safety of the downtown area. And
police are hoping this will combat the high amount of service calls to the area.
Downtown Fargo provides a lot of really great venues for people to go out and have fun. And when the bars close, there's a lot of people that are out there. And when you get a lot of people in one place who've possibly been drinking, sometimes we have calls for service, whether it's fights or theft or damaging property.
In Fargo, Alex Larson, Valley News Live.
Police say we can expect to see this in place in either late spring or early summer.
Police are also investigating reports of shots fired in South Moorhead. They were called around 9 last night at the 500 block of 30th Avenue. Officers detained several people for questioning, but no arrests were made. Police say no one was hurt and they don't believe there is any current threat to the public. Walsh County authorities are trying to identify human remains found in a burned out car. Sheriff's Department says the body was found last Friday just north of Minto. They say deputies were able to identify who owns the vehicle, but they're not releasing that information at this time.
Authorities are conducting an autopsy on a man found dead in Kidder County. News Dakota is reporting 56-year-old Timothy Becker of Robinson was found dead Monday. His body was found on a back road by Highway 36. They're not reporting any other details at this time. North Dakota and Spirit Lake tribal leaders today signed a document that will allow law enforcement officers of some select agencies to enforce federal laws and respond to crime on the reservation. Other tribes have been looking into similar deals in past years. Under the agreement, if at any point the tribe feels the deal is being misused, they can back out.
Longtime Fargo lawyer and city attorney Wayne O. Solberg died Monday. He was 89 years old. A UND School of Law grad, Wayne served the city of Fargo proudly as city attorney from 1968 to 1994. Funeral services will be held Monday. A big thanks to everyone who donated their airline miles today. More than 419,000 miles were donated yesterday. Valley News Live is proud to team up with Make-A-Wish North Dakota for its Wishes in Flight Miles to Smiles drive. You can donate miles any time of year. We have a link to do that on our website, valleynewslive.com. Just click on this story.
Still ahead tonight, a man tells his tale and the warning signs after suffering from 3 cardiac arrests.
Weather has been rough and tumble of late, and how did those snowbanks measure up? Well, those kids out trying to get a hold of that. Debbie, thanks for your photo here of waving the white flag. Many of us are with you. How about this? If you can't beat them, join them. Diving into business, selling some snow. Jeff, your hour-by-hour forecast looks a little less snowy, but not necessarily hot. Your forecast is next.